Welcome to All Fired Up Radio.
And I won't be made to ever feel ashamed that I'm American made. I got American heart, got American faith in America's heart. Go on, raise the flag. I got stars in my eyes. I'm in love with her, and I won't apologize.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to All Fired Up Military Monday. I'm your host, Betty Kilbride. Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen. America, history is repeating itself once again. As many of you know, just a few years ago, 2009 to be exact, 3 Navy SEALs were falsely accused of giving an insurgent a fat lip. Many of us, way too many of us, spent the majority of our lives for the next 8 months raising awareness in order to safeguard the careers of those 3 Navy SEALs. In the end, we were victorious in having all 3 of them cleared of all charges. We thought the White House, the DOD, the Navy, and the Army would have learned that the power of the internet, power of social media, and the power of the people are more powerful than the idiots who falsely accuse those who fight for this country for none other than political reasons or personal vindictiveness. This past week, ladies and gentlemen, I received a call alerting me to get my guns ready because more Navy SEALs were facing false charges. Now, for those of you who don't know what's been happening, because the majority of this particular situation in this case is not in the media as of yet, probably because of the fact this is an election year. White House doesn't want it to go into the media because it'll look stupid. But hey, they're going to look stupid anyway. You know, it all began with May 2012. At a checkpoint in the northern Uruzgan, I'm probably saying that wrong, Uruzgan, in the Karlak region of Afghanistan. An IED exploded. The explosion killed a local Afghanistan police officer. You know, that was actually at the checkpoint, and unfortunately, he lost his life. Condolences to his family. A few kilometers away, at an American base, Navy SEALs and the American Army soldiers heard the explosion. They began to respond as they normally would to any explosion of that sort. Shortly after, 3 Pakistani men were brought to the base by the Afghan police that was actually stationed over at the checkpoint. A couple of the SEALs and a colleague who specialized in intelligence collection and interrogation walked outside of the perimeter to question the 3 Paki men. The presence of 3 Pakistani men in that particular region, in that particular area, was extremely suspicious. The town had a small population, and the local Afghan police force maintains a strict control over the town and the area, which allowed them to know who lived there and who was not from that specific town. These 3 men, these Pakistani men, were definitely not from that town. Also, when the explosion went off, the 3 men were seen running away from the blast site, which drew attention to them directly. These same 3 men were interrogated outside of the American compound. But before they were interrogated, they were separated, just like any other law enforcement would do, so that they could not coordinate their stories. Each was questioned in turn. The SEALs determined that the 3 men were not telling the truth, as their stories did not match, nor make any sense for why they were there to begin with. About 100 meters away, a handful of Army soldiers stood watch on a rooftop inside the compound. One of those men later alleged that the SEALs abused the detainees that they had in their custody. This could have been done in a jokingly manner. You never know. However, none of the detainees ever even alleged that they were abused, touched, or anything like that. No reports were ever made suggesting that the insurgencies was trying to exploit the story of detainee, any kind of abuse, which is, pretty common. After all, any allegation of detainee abuse is automatically taken to heart by the United States government and even NATO forces, because they're playing the Al-Qaeda tactic game of claiming false abuse, as we saw in the 3 Navy SEAL cases back in 2009. Finally, the intelligence reporting did not pick up any electronic chatter about the possibility of exploiting the law of the land within the warfare violations. Within 24 hours, within 48 hours, the rumor climbed. Subsequently, an investigation commenced to look into the so-called allegations. The SEALs had been now relieved of their duties, ordered back to the U.S. Upon arrival to the U.S., the SEALs were informed that they now stood to relieve their duties as they awaited disposition of the allegations and charges. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very serious situation, because this is not being charges are not being brought on by an insurgent, anybody part of the Taliban, the Mujahideen, Al-Qaeda, or anything. This is a U.S. Army soldier accusing a fellow battle buddy, who happens to be a Navy SEAL, 4 of them actually, of abuse. This is not only a very serious situation, this actually could wind up further dividing our military. Because, honestly, when we have one branch accusing another branch of any kind of atrocity, any kind of, joking comment, in this day and age, it's definitely going to wind up causing heartache between the branches. Now, many of us who actually helped getting the 3 Navy SEALs cleared immediately mobilized. A Facebook page has been set up. It is, the goal now is not 300,000 like we had last time. Right now, we're rallying the troops to get over 1 million in support of our Navy SEALs. Because I'll tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, for those of our NATO allies out there listening, you can help us raise these numbers too. The situation is clear. This could happen to you if we don't stop it now. The more I look at this particular case, the more I see stupidity. Young people that are in uniform thinking that they are just joking, laughing, goofing off. They've now just caused the United States military to jump through hoops. There's also, apparently, scuttlebutt has it, there's an NCIS agent out there who's trying to make a name for himself with pushing this case forward even more. That disturbs me, because for those of you who actually have been tracking any of these cases, like I have and many others have, back a few years ago, I believe it was 2006 time frame. I could be wrong, but that's what's popping in the back of my mind. 2006 time frame, it might have even been 2005, where there was a case that was known as the Pendleton 8, which was 7 Marines and 1 Navy corpsman who were accused of atrocities over in Iraq. I followed that case, kept in touch with the people that were trying to help those particular individuals, because one of them happens to be from Massachusetts, which I know a lot of people within that town of Plymouth, Massachusetts, where this kid actually lives and grew up. who happens to be one of the Marines that was involved. Fighting for his life and not being able to see his family, his kid, the whole 9 yards. Now, throughout that particular case, there was an NCIS agent who had a real serious hard-on to make a name for himself. And I can tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, if I find out that it's the same NCIS agent who's involved in this particular case with the Navy SEALs, if I have it confirmed of who it is, I'm going to mention it on this show. I'm going to make sure that every single American out there and everyone worldwide knows who this gentleman is, because this particular gentleman is extremely detrimental to our military, detrimental to freedom. In actuality, he has done more problems, more heartache and more horror to our military forces with the various different cases that he was involved with over his career, which should actually be questioned, because in actuality, his actions are treasonous. I hate to even accuse anyone of treason, but I'll be the first one to say it. This is something the media needs to look into. My fellow, male and female members of the media, I hate being classified as that, but because I'm a writer and a talk show host, they classified me as media. So tonight I'm going to actually, agree to it. For my fellow, journalists, writers, producers, radio talk show hosts, we need to raise awareness on this. The news media needs to pick this up. After all, this is an election year, right? Here's something you can wind up sinking your teeth into. You can wind up looking into this particular case. The military doesn't want it out there. White House doesn't want it out there for obvious reasons. Because after all, the Navy SEALs are the ones that actually, captured the number one terrorist in the world and took him out, took him off the map. But now, because of stupidity of somebody making a comment, I hope whoever the soldier is that made the comment, I hope he's very proud of himself, because he has just divided the military right down the middle. He has played right into the hands of our enemy. Divide and conquer. I hope you're really happy with yourself, soldier. The interrogators know that these three guys were involved in the explosion at the checkpoint that unfortunately took the life of an Afghan police officer. It bothers me. It truly, truly, truly bothers me. And I've been all fired up about this for the last 5 or 6 days since I've heard about it. I'm livid, actually, about it. None of our military personnel, especially our Navy SEALs, who have got a very high-strung job, they're very well trained, extremely well trained. They do their job specifically to make sure that the enemy is taken out and that there is absolutely no casualties on our side. We've lost a few. In fact, we've lost a number of them. I am so livid and pissed off right now, ladies and gentlemen. I have a hard time even thinking, because I can just imagine what these 4 Navy SEALs are going through. They wake up in the morning in a combat zone, put on their battle gear, they go out, they put themselves in harm's way, just like the United States Army does. And for anyone, any soldier, knowing what happened last time, that has watched the news, read the paper, kept the pulse on what the hell is going on in the world, knows that anything that you say can be misconstrued, and taken as fact, when it might have just been a joke. They used to say back in World War II, loose lips sink ships. That used to be for the civilian world, making a comment as to where a loved one might be stationed or where they might be going because they got a letter, something along that lines. You know, or anybody in the military that was in the know. You know, keep your mouth shut because anything that you say could actually kill somebody. Well, guess what? We don't just have that problem on the civilian side. You know, back here, CONUS, continental U.S., we got this problem within the military itself. You know, we're somehow, some way, not training these soldiers, you know, of all the branches, to keep their mouths shut. You know, don't make stupid, snide comments. Where is the common sense these days? You know, I don't just see this in the military. I see this in everyday life. You go to the grocery store. You know, somebody just leaves their grocery cart at the line and walks away because they forgot a thing of, you know, bread or, you know, mustard or mayonnaise, or they forgot their milk. Take the flipping cart with you. You know, and then when you wait 5 or 10 minutes for somebody to come back and nobody does, you move the cart, you start putting your stuff up on the counter, and the person that owns the cart that comes back and makes a snide, obnoxious, rude comment. Oh, you had to move my cart? That happened to me the other day. The lady was damn sure, you know, she was damn lucky that, you know, it was too early in the morning and I had only had 1 cup of coffee. Because I would have wound up embarrassing the crap out of her right there in public, letting her know how rude and obnoxious she's being because she left the cart right there. It's, you know, society, ladies and gentlemen, have come down to all about me, 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 me. I can say anything, I can do anything, I can flip anybody off, and it doesn't matter. I don't give a crap about anybody else. It's only about me, 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 me. Guess what? That's exactly what popped into my mind when I got off the phone with Graham last Wednesday when he called me to tell me about this situation with the Navy SEALs. I mean, I had heard scuttlebutt about a month and a half ago that something was perking, but I've been too damn busy with doing other stuff. You know, working on the funding for the tour, you know, and other stuff in life. I wasn't paying attention. But I'll tell you, when I hung up the phone with him, I sat outside with a cup of coffee in my hand, you know, looking up at the stars, trying to figure out, why is history repeating itself? Why? Why does history have to repeat? When are people going to learn? You know, keep your mouth shut. It's not a matter of opening up your mouth and hearing yourself, yeah, 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 yeah. Think about what you're going to say before you say it. You know, my dad used to have a saying, think, decide, and act. He used to drive me up a flipping wall when he would wind up giving me the lecture of the think, decide, and act line. Think about what you're going to do. Decide on the ramifications if it's going to hurt anybody around you. You know, is it going to hurt you? Is it going to hurt the country? Is it going to hurt those around you that you love? Once you make up that decision, you know, act on it. But when you act on it, be ready to wind up standing up and being an adult with the ramifications thereof of your actions. People don't think that way. It's all about them. Selfishness. It's all about listening to their own voice. Even though I'm a talk show host, I don't like talking to people on the outside. I'm an observer, and I see this all the time. You know, people park the wrong way, you know, and instead of having a problem with neighbors, I don't give a damn, you know, park wherever I want. No. People pay taxes. People pay a mortgage. They want to be able to park in front of their own house. Got to have a little common courtesy. Big key, ladies and gentlemen, common courtesy. The particular soldier that opened up his mouth, joking or not, didn't have common courtesy or respect for someone else in another uniform of their same country. They opened up their mouth because they wanted to be able to be the comedian. They wanted to make a rude comment, whether it be jealousy, vindictiveness, political incorrectness, whatever, or political correctness, whatever. They opened up their mouth. And because they did, They opened up Pandora's box all over again. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to be fighting for 4 of them, 4 Navy SEALs who don't deserve to be going through this. At a time of war, we should not be worrying about trying to get 4 Navy SEALs cleared of stupid charges being brought against them based on a joke. Nor should we be fighting for 4 Navy SEAls in defense of their careers based on the fact of a career investigator from NCIS wanting to make a name for themselves. Now, if he wants to make a name for himself, he's got an open invitation to come on this show and explain to me why he's bringing these charges forward. I'm challenging NCIS to do that. Because I'll tell you right now, there's a few people up at NCIS that need to retire. They don't need to be carrying that gold badge. They don't even need to be going over to the Navy Yard every morning to go to work. They need to leave because there's a few of them. You know, this is not television, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we don't have the good-looking little hotties walking around playing flippant stuff and going investigating criminals and crime. You know, we don't have, you know, Miss Abby in the forensic lab putting the dots together. This is not Hollywood. Unfortunately, we wish we could have it as being Hollywood, because then we could just write out the entire scene and say, scrub the script. This is reality, ladies and gentlemen. 4 Navy SEALs are currently, right now, back here in the United States, standing down when their talent, their careers, their investigative abilities are not being utilized because they're being told they got to stand down. I mean, it's great that they're at home. I'm happy about that. They get to see their families, their loved ones, kids, families, their friends. They get to go to McDonald's and Burger King and Subway and Pizza Hut and whatever else. They get to drive around safely in America. But I can tell you right now, I know too many Navy SEALs. When there's a fight going on, they want to be in the thick of things. Those 4 Navy SEAls probably would rather be in Afghanistan right now, making sure that the interrogations are going correctly. Information is being, you know, picked up, learned, so that we can, once and for all, combat terrorism. We're not going to do it all in one shot. But I know these 4 Navy SEALs would much rather be over there in the game than being stuck back here, twiddling their thumbs, wondering what's going to happen with them in the future. Will they have a career in the Navy to return to? And if they leave the Navy, will they have a career for the rest of their lives? Will they be tainted? Will their credibility and their integrity be questioned because of some stupid soldier making a stupid, snide comment as a joke? That's the question I'm going to leave you with, ladies and gentlemen. Because I'll tell you right now, I'm taking it very seriously. Those at the Pentagon, those at the White House that are listening, we're mobilized. We're ready to defend and protect. What are you going to do about it? We're already raising the numbers that's going to be needed. It's going to be a little slow. You know, it took us about 5 or 6 months to get 300,000 people. And guess what? If you remember correctly, Capitol Hill, Pentagon, White House, you had 300,000 people calling you up, sending you messages, sending you emails, showing up at your various events, asking what the hell you were doing in defense of these Navy SEALs. Well, get ready, because our goal is 1 million this time around. We're not going to turn around and allow 4 Navy SEALs to be crucified during an election year because somebody wants to get back into the White House. It's not going to happen. We're not going to let it happen because, as I said in the beginning of the show, we thought the White House, the DOD, the Navy, and the Army would have learned that the power of the internet, power of social media, and the power of the people are a lot more powerful than any of you allowing falsely accused individuals who would rather be fighting for their country go down the tubes for you. Beware. We're mobilizing because, you see, back in 2009, let me tell you this, back in 2009, we weren't as savvy as we are now. We weren't as internet connected as we are now. We didn't have a clue. We just jumped on Facebook and wound up raising the numbers. But I tell you, since 2009, this is now 2012, we're damn connected. We're connected to everything. Because you see, I got 5 website pages. I got 5 Facebook pages. I got the radio show. I'm connected to everything you can think of, and then some. And each and every one of us who were involved, whether it be me, Graham, David, Joe, Mark, Christine, anybody, we're all a lot more savvy than we were 3 years ago. Like I said, we were just novice then, but we got the job done. This time around, we're all connected. And we don't just have a couple of 100 people on our Twitter, on our LinkedIn, or any place else that we're connected. We've got thousands upon thousands upon thousands connected to us now. Anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 to 20,000. And I'll tell you right now, we're mobilizing the Army, the Defense Army. I shouldn't even call it the Army. Defense troops. That's what it is. The power of the people. We're mobilizing. And we are going to make sure that we get over 1 million people, Americans, NATO, worldwide. We're going to get this story into every single newspaper that we can get our hands on every radio show. If you remember correctly, I did 187 different interviews last time around. I'd be more than happy to do 500 this time around because this is BS. The White House can do something about this. Make these cases go away. And I don't mean just stick them underneath a rock and crucify these 4 Navy SEALs. Commander-in-Chief has the opportunity to make one phone call to the Secretary of the Navy and even to the Admiral in charge of the Navy. Make these charges disappear. Put those 4 Navy SEALs back where they need to be. Boots on the ground. There's going to be a difference in this particular situation, ladies and gentlemen. These 4 Navy SEALs, their names will not be released in the media. And I'm asking all my fellow media personnel out there, let's safeguard their identities. Let's not put them out there. Let's make sure that we safeguard their families and safeguard the operational security of the Navy. Let's keep their names quiet. Unless their attorneys decide that they want them out there, then they can put them out there. But I think this time around, I think we need to wind up keeping their names totally stealth for obvious reasons. However, as I said, if I find out who the NCIS agent is, I will let it be known. Especially if it turns out to be the same NCIS agent that tried to screw the Pendleton 8. That's not cool in my book. Not cool at all. It's important that we do everything we possibly can, ladies and gentlemen, to join forces and stand behind these guys. More now than ever before. If you're on Facebook, type in the word Navy SEAL Fund, and you will come up with a page that currently, right now, as I speak, has 1,292 people currently on it now. I know I've got 5,000 requests out just from my page, just from my private page. Another, 4,000 combined on my other pages. Graham is actually going out there, going after as many people as he can. Joe, Mark, Christine, David, doing the same thing. The same people that wound up raising $300,000 combined last time around has band back together again. The Musketeers are back. So, Pentagon, you better get your boots ready, because we're going to make you run. We're going to make your life miserable. We're going to take you away from what you're supposed to be doing to doing damage control, because we will be out there stirring up the pot, stirring up the media. We will be making sure that these 4 Navy SEALs are not used as political pawns during an election year. All those on Capitol Hill, you better be out there defending these 4 Navy SEALs. Because if you're not, don't expect to be coming back to D.C. come next January. Because we'll see to it that you guys get voted out too. You need to jump on the bandwagon. You need to wind up making sure that these 4 Navy SEALs are not destroyed for political reasons. And I'm not threatening you. I'm promising you. Each and every one of you know what I'm capable of doing, especially when it comes to politics. I'll stir the pot behind the scenes, just like I've done in many other situations throughout this country. And I'll be damn straight if I'm going to not do it for these 4 brave Navy SEAls who put that uniform on every day in defense of freedom, in defense of their fellow brothers that wear that trident, the legacy of that trident. I'll be damned if I'm going to wind up allowing you, to destroy these 4 young men. It's not going to happen on my watch. Not at all. I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, be careful, be careful, be careful." That cracks me up when I hear that. Oh, you got to be careful. Watch your back. If the Founding Fathers thought that way, we wouldn't have a country that's free. We wouldn't have the First Amendment, free speech. That's what my radio show is all about, free speech. I'm very careful in what I say. I don't make threats lightly. I don't make promises. I don't make threats. I make promises. I will come after the juggler. That's what the motto of this show is. You come after my military or my first responders, and I will come after your juggler. Because to tell you the truth, unless this country starts to change their tune and get away from the me attitude and get back to being patriots, get back to being fighters, and start taking care of each other and taking care of the men and women who wear the uniform of our military, who at the moment's notice could have to give up their own lives for their battle buddies and for freedom. We might as well just turn around and open up the floodgates, throw away the key, and let destruction come in and take over this country. Because we've lost our values at that point. We've lost our direction. We're at a pivotal point. The Founding Fathers, it was a 250-year experiment. They didn't expect us to even last this long. 250 years. And guess what? 2015 is that 250th year of that great experiment. We're at a pivotal point. The next 3 years is our defining moment. What are you going to do about it, ladies and gentlemen? What is America going to do with that defining moment? You're going to allow every single person that ever shed blood, gave their lives for this country, for freedom, for the Constitution, for the Declaration of Independence, for Lady Liberty, for Independence Hall, for the White House or the President's house, Capitol Hill, for the Pentagon? Are you going to allow each and every one of those individuals who gave their life to be for naught? I don't plan to. I don't know about you. I plan to fight. Because that's the Irish in me. The Irish are fighters. You know, it comes to a time now where America needs to take a stand. You know, we've got too many things going on right now that are slapping us upside the head. Way too many issues. Way too many people walking around with ignorance in their head, spouting off crap that really has no relevance. You know, like I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago who's a minister, and he knows that I'm extremely spiritual and, you know, read the Bible all the time and stuff, and I'll tell you, I have to agree with him because he had said that, you know, unless we wind up returning back to God in this country's lost. Because if you read the documents of the founding fathers, which I have, each and every one of the founding fathers believed in God. America was a gift to God in return for them having freedom and salvation by coming to America. If we don't wind up going back that way, we will be lost. We will be taken over by anybody out there that wants to take us over. Right now we're having a battle of ideology. We're having social, economic, political fighting going on. We've got fighting going on between colors of our skin. We got religious fights going on. Historical fights. Our own history is being rewritten in academia. They will not accept an original thought. Everything has to be regurgitated. You know, basically we're allowing ourselves to be brainwashed. We're allowing ourselves to get the almighty dollar in our hands. We're allowing our history to be changed, to be something that it's not, which is totally ridiculous in my eyes, in my heart. We have to change that. We got to get back to being Americans. You know, this is not about one specific group. This is not about blacks, whites, Latinos, Asians, you know, French, English, Spanish. It's not about that, or even the Italians. I don't want to wind up having my Italian brothers scream bloody murder at me that I forgot to mention them. It's not about them. It's not about individuality. That's the me attitude, ladies and gentlemen. What about just plain old being an American? If you're born here, you're an American with a heritage coming from a different country. Your forefathers, your grandparents and great-grandparents, they came to this country for a reason. What was it? Freedom. Freedom from oppression. Freedom from war zones. They didn't come over here and say, I demand that you speak German, or everything that's out there, that's every sign, every document that's put out publicly, that it has to be in German. When the French came here, they didn't demand for us to be speaking French. You know, when the Italians came, same thing. When people from Spain came here, same exact thing. So people from Brazil, you know, even from Africa, China, Japan, Russia. They didn't demand that we change everything that we've got. Recordings, voting ballots. They didn't demand that. They came here, they learned English. They were proud to learn English. They were proud. Oh my God, they were proud when they became U.S. citizens. Their allegiance was to America, not to their home country. I mean, they kept their culture, they kept their heritage, they passed it down to their children and their grandchildren. They didn't demand for their new country to conform to them. They conformed to the country. So what the hell is up with all of this? Oh, you got to wind up speaking Spanish or Mexican or, something along that line. I've got friends that are Spanish. I've got friends that are from Mexico. They're livid. They're absolutely, positively livid. They know what it was like to live south of the border, where they didn't have running water. They didn't have indoor plumbing. They didn't have a decent car. They didn't have a job. They didn't have enough food to feed their families. And that's not just Mexico. I'm talking El Salvador, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, all the way down to Brazil and Colombia. Each and every one of those individuals, they're happy to be here. They came here for a reason, to get a better life, to be able to become an American citizen, to become free, to have the choices that they want to make, not what some dictator says they have to make. We've lost our values, ladies and gentlemen. We've lost our way. The great experiment is dwindling away because we have lost our way, because we have gotten to that point of the me attitude. Change it back. Bad season's coming in. We got drought coming in. 70% of the American government, I'm sorry, not the American government, the American land is under a drought. Everything is dry. We got fires all over the country. Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, Colorado, California, Utah, Montana, Wyoming, New Jersey, Virginia, a few of them up in Connecticut. We need to start taking care of each other and watching each other's back, looking out for each other, looking out for each other's back. Otherwise, we're lost. That's what those 4 Navy SEALs feel like right now. They're lost. They feel as though their entire career has just been put up on the chopping block. They're just waiting for that guillotine to wind up falling down and cutting them in half. They've got a tremendous amount of training that is going to waste. The Navy SEALs themselves, they have a very unique bond. It's not about one. It's about the team. They don't leave a man behind. They go into dangerous situations, assessing it as they go, pre-planning it, and executing that plan of action. Many times we don't even know how many times Navy SEALs go into a situation and rescue helpless individuals, whether they be just basic citizens that need help, dignitaries, or any other individual that they're sent in to protect and retrieve. To wind up taking each and every one of these Navy SEALs and separate them out is a big mistake. because they're used to being a unit, specialized unit, a tactical special unit. If we wind up taking them and putting them through a potential court-martial based on these charges, false charges, we're playing into the hands of our enemy. And like I said earlier, the worst thing right now is that we have a soldier, an Army soldier, making the allegation from on top of the ridge, whether it's joking or not. You know, when I found out about the situation, I wound up talking to a friend of mine, and I was explaining it to her. First thing out of her mouth was the Army soldier a Ranger or Special Forces? Threw a question mark in my head. I have no clue. As far as we know, it's not. It's just a simple soldier. But it got me thinking. Yeah, that would be retribution. Yeah, that would be vindictiveness. Because the last time around, the allegations were being brought, by a little petty officer. Didn't see squat. Made the allegations, and it turned out to be nothing. But to be on an Army base, have Navy SEALs on an Army base, yeah, that would definitely make a few Army guys a little hesitant. But honestly, we need to seriously stand behind these guys, now more than ever before. We can't allow them to go down the tubes. So join with me, ladies and gentlemen. Go to Facebook. Go to Navy SEAL Fund on Facebook. Join with us. Help us raise our numbers. Because I'll tell you right now, we need it. These 4 Navy SEALs are going to need to have civilian attorneys. Hopefully they learned from the last time around that a civilian attorney is 10 times better than a JAG officer attorney. Because the JAG officer attorney, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is part of the convening authority. The convening authority happens to be the United States Navy. And like I said, the NCIS agent, I want to know his name. Anybody who has the name, provide it to me. I want to know if whether or not it is the same dirtbag that went after the Pendleton 8. Screwed those cases up, destroyed documentation, destroyed evidence in an attempt to destroy the lives of 7 Marines and 1 Navy corpsman. I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm sick and tired of our military being scapegoats for politicians, for career idiots that want to make a name for themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, I might sound calm, but I am all fired up tonight about this situation, and I am not going to give up with it. I am not going to stand down until I get word from the United States Navy SEAL community that all 4 of these Navy SEALs have been cleared 100%. So Washington, D.C., watch out. The pit bull is actually on and watching these cases. I'm not giving up on it. You saw what we did last time. We're going to do it tenfold this time. Because these 4 guys are my family. I'm not tolerating you coming after my family and destroying their careers and their future careers once they leave the United States Navy. They deserve better. Not only from our government, but even from NCIS. And to the soldier who actually, jokingly or not, brought these charges or made this comment, remember, what goes around will come around. Always remember, you're in a combat zone. You know, where the variables can change at any given moment. You could now be, or in the future be in the same position that you have yourself put these 4 Navy SEALs in jeopardy. Somebody might turn around and wind up accusing you of something that you never did, whether it be a joke or not. Do not open up the mouth and insert your foot, because that's pretty much what you just did. And for all those out there that are serving, you know I love you dearly. You know I will protect you. I will fight for you to my last breath in this body. Please, each and every one of you have been trained by the best to be the best. I admire you. I respect you. But I'll tell you right now, each and every one of you need to start getting a little flippant common sense. You need to shut your pie hole. Don't comment something that could possibly harm another, especially for those out there in the Army. Remember, my father was an Army major, retired, 29 years. Very wise man. He should have actually retired as a general, but he took his brass off a number of times fighting for his soldiers. And as I said earlier, his main thing was think, decide, and act. Think about what you're going to do. Decide the ramifications of that action. Will it hurt anyone around you? That goes for opening up your mouth, making comments, flippant, joking, stupid comments just to hear your pie hole open up. Decide if whether or not what you're going to say or do is going to harm another or harm another battle buddy out there, whether it be male or female. Once you decide, make sure you understand the ramifications of your actions. Take whatever brunt is thrown at you. Because if you make false allegations against another, that's going to come back and bite you in the ass one day. Not only is it going to bite you while you're in uniform, it's going to bite you, it's going to follow you when you go into the civilian world. That's going to be a tainted line in your bio somewhere along the lines. Think about that. Think about the future. Don't just think about the moment, and make a comment. Oh, well, maybe the SEAL turned around and smacked somebody. If all they do is smack somebody, that person's damn lucky. I'll tell you that right now. I've seen them in action. You don't want to be around them when they go on a search and destroy mission. It's not going to be pretty. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming down to the last few minutes here of the show. I'm really sorry that I wind up, harping on this one situation, but it's very important. I'm not really harping on it. I'm just trying to lay it out for you, connecting the dots. Because honestly, this is a political year. November is right around the corner. For these 4 Navy SEALs to be used as political pawns, if they are, is an atrocity. For them to be used as career-boosting trophies by an NCIS agent, again, ludicrous. To be used as vindictiveness, jealousy, taking them off the fob so that the Army can handle it because they don't want the Navy SEALs there. Idiocy. We're all in this together. Every branch, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Merchant Marines, every one of them plays a part. One has a specialty, one doesn't. Each one takes care of their part. And when one falters and accuses another of stupidity, our military unfortunately, becomes divided. We saw what happened to the Romans when they were divided in half. We saw what happened to the Turkish army when they were divided in half. You know, we saw what happened to the Italians when they got divided in half. They lost. Americans don't lose. American soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, active duty, guard, reserves, need to start acting like adults. They need to start working together as a cohesive unit. Separate but cohesive unit. They're all wearing the United States American flag on their shoulder. We need to start acting that way. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm down to the wire. For all those out there wearing the uniform of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Merchant Marines, each and every one of you, when you put that uniform on, you make this American, this very humbled American, proud to be an American. Until you turn your back on one of your brothers or sisters. That's when I start feeling sorry for you. I've got a lot of military family out there that are sharing my blood. Each and every one of them come from a very long line of honorable, high-integrity legacy. From the Spanish-American War until now. From the American Revolution until now. Each and every one of them I'm proud of. If by chance someone in my family happens to be part of the unit that is over in Afghanistan, that has to do with this particular 4 Navy SEAL cases, know that Aunt Betty is going to be kicking your ass when I wind up seeing you again. Do whatever you can to wind up educating your soldiers, your sailors, your Marines. Educate them to keep their mouths shut. Educate them to think before they speak. That's what it comes down to, ladies and gentlemen. No one has any integrity anymore. We need to make sure that we think before we speak. I do every Monday night before I do the show. It takes a lot for me to decide what to talk about, or even how to say it. Just believe me, there's a few 4-letter words that are in the back of my mind that I want to wind up saying right now to half a dozen different people that are involved in this case, but I won't. Because I have a little bit more class than that. The military used to have class. They've gone a little trailer trash, as far as I can see. They've gone too much into the street gutters, from what I can tell. But for each one of you that are wearing the uniform of the United States military, I am very proud of you. Keep up the good work. Be safe. Don't be complacent. For each and every one of those out there wearing the uniform of our first responders, fire, police, EMS, sheriff, you've got my utmost respect and love. You do a lot for us. Remember your oath. Defend and protect. Majority of you are former military. Remember that oath that you put your right hand up. Don't ever forget it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is All Fired Up Military Monday. I'm your host, Betty Kilbride. See you again all next week when I get all fired up about something to do with our military. Give you follow-ups, too, on the Navy SEAL case. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. God bless America, and God bless our troops.